And so, Iran's looking at the big picture saying we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good. We don't need to upset the apple cart by starting a major war with Israel, because an Iranian retaliation for many of the insults that Israel has thrown its way could lead to a major conflict, not just with Israel, but with the United States. And again, a conflict with the United States would require Iran to undertake certain actions like shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, perhaps attacking American military infrastructure in the region. This could trigger America's Sunni Gulf Arab allies getting involved, which means there could be mutually assured destruction of Iranian and Gulf Arab oil production infrastructure, which leads to economic catastrophe for the world, which leads to the ruin of Iran. And so they wisely said, we don't need to do that.
Welcome to our channel. Today, we revisit this region, which has been roiled by a week of dramatic escalations. We delve into each strategic maneuver and its profound implications, uncovering the undercurrents that drive this complex chess game of power and provocation. As former UN Inspector Scott Ritter often highlights, the truth in such conflicts can be elusive, layered with the narratives shaped by those who wield the pen and the sword, as well as by the protesting crowds in the streets. Let us start to dissect these developments, looking beyond the surface to understand the real stakes at play in this cradle of civilization, now a battleground for influence and supremacy. As echoed by Mr. Scott's prediction, the complexities of modern warfare often mask the profound human cost hidden beneath the strategic maneuvers. In the heart of Tel Aviv, the air is thick with dissent. Hundreds of thousands have flooded the streets, their cries for Prime Minister Netanyahu's resignation piercing the usual city hum. Their signs bear not just demands but a plea for peaceful coexistence with the Palestinians, marking a significant shift in public sentiment amidst ongoing hostilities. In a stark contrast to these cries for peace, the recent directives from Netanyahu have only deepened the shadows of war. The Prime Minister vows to intensify attacks, specifically targeting Hamas in the southern region of Rafah. Meanwhile, reports from Khan Yunis in central Gaza expose a chilling discovery: nearly 200 bodies found in mass graves, many showing signs of severe mutilation, a stark testament to the brutal nature of this conflict. This surge of public opposition reflects a broader critique not just of current leadership but of a conflict that resonates with historical ferocity, echoing the Dark Ages rather than the modern, civilized world we claim to inhabit. The juxtaposition of modern protests advocating for peace against the backdrop of ancient-like warfare presents a dichotomy that challenges the very essence of our global identity. As we delve into the strategic escalations that follow these protests, we see a pattern of response that highlights the complex interplay between public sentiment and military action. How have these domestic pressures shaped the strategic decisions made by Israeli leadership? And what has been the response from their adversaries? The latest developments as of today highlight a significant escalation that began last Friday, following the conclusion of our previous report. This region saw a coordinated series of punitive strikes initiated by Israel, targeting not just any installations, but strategic military encampments within Baghdad and the Syrian territory. These locations were thought to house operatives from Iran, amplifying the stakes of the confrontation. Precision-guided munitions were employed in these strikes, with one UAV directed towards Tabriz and 3 towards Isfahan, areas critically noted for their nuclear facilities. This orchestrated aggression did not go unanswered. The reprisal from Iran was swift and on a large scale, contrasting starkly with the relatively measured subsequent counter-response from Israel. Detailed satellite imagery and intelligence reports have since confirmed the severe impacts at these sites. The strategic choice of targets suggests a calculated intent to cripple key military and possibly nuclear-linked capabilities of Iran within the region. This series of actions and reactions underscores the volatile dance of military might and strategic positioning that continues to define the region. What ignited this fierce series of exchanges? To understand the provocations that led to these critical moments, let's trace the events leading up to this fiery Friday, laying bare the sequence of actions and the underlying tensions. In a calculated move that heightened tensions significantly, Israel escalated its military operations by launching unmanned aerial vehicles towards strategic locations within Iran. The targets were meticulously chosen, proximal to the nuclear sites of Tabriz and Isfahan, areas of critical significance to Tehran's nuclear ambitions. This aggressive strategy was not merely about sending a message but incapacitating vital assets. The repercussions were immediate and substantial. Tehran's response was swift, deploying a considerable retaliation that marked a significant uptick in the intensity of their military engagements. The scale of this retaliation was unprecedented, indicating a shift towards more aggressive postures in regional defense tactics. This exchange of hostilities brought to light the preparedness and resilience of both nations' military strategies. The rapid deployment and the scale of the response underscored a readiness to engage at heightened levels of confrontation, pushing the envelope of regional military dynamics. With the smoke clearing from these immediate exchanges, the focus shifts to the broader strategic implications. How have these actions influenced the ongoing geopolitical tensions? As we probe deeper into the strategic calculus of both Israel and Iran, the unfolding scenario reveals a complex tapestry of deterrence and power projection. As noted by Mr. Inspector, the deceptive quiet that often precedes stormier escalations was palpable this week in the Middle East. Amidst this apparent calm, a military installation in Iraq, known to accommodate Iranian forces, became the focal point of a precise aerial operation. This facility, strategically significant due to its location and the personnel it housed, was subjected to a targeted strike believed to have been orchestrated by Israeli forces. The operation was executed with pinpoint accuracy, leveraging advanced reconnaissance and strike capabilities. The impact was not merely physical but also psychological, signaling a continued pressure tactic aimed at deterring Iranian influence in the region without crossing the threshold into wider conflict. The aftermath of the strike revealed significant disruptions to the base's operational capabilities. Initial estimates indicate that the precision of the strike resulted in considerable materiel damage, though exact figures on personnel casualties remain closely guarded by the involved states. This action underscores a methodical approach, where each move is calculated to maintain a balance of power without provoking a broader escalation. This tactical interplay, while momentarily stabilizing, casts long shadows over the region, affecting not only military but also public perceptions and international diplomatic relations. Up next, we explore how the echoes of these strikes reverberate through the corridors of power and streets alike, shaping the narratives and responses of a world watching closely. Amidst the relentless turmoil of Middle Eastern conflicts, the United States, under President Joe Biden, asserts its influence not merely through diplomatic channels but with decisive military support. A historic arms deal, funneling $1 billion worth of advanced weaponry to Israel, stands poised for final approvals. This package, laden with artillery, bombs, and munitions, represents one of the most substantial in recent history, underpinning a policy of formidable military backing amidst calls for peace. This commitment by the U.S. sharpens the contrast between public pronouncements of seeking peace and the stark realities of war-making capabilities being shipped to conflict zones. It reflects a troubling dichotomy in international relations, the vocal advocacy for peace by the U.S. juxtaposed with actions that may well escalate the violence they seek to quell. The recent large-scale Iranian strike on Israeli territories, involving a sophisticated array of UAVs and missiles, shocked U.S. intelligence. Occurring on April 13, this assault was so severe that it matched the direst predictions of American military strategists. It has sparked a flurry of activity in Washington, with Biden and his team urgently strategizing to bolster the missile defenses of their allies in the region. U.S. response to this escalation extends beyond its own military. It includes coordinating with British, French, and Jordanian forces to support Israeli defenses, illustrating the deep web of international military alliances aimed at controlling regional dynamics. As we navigate further into the impacts of these international maneuvers, our next segment will scrutinize the on-the-ground realities that have emerged as a consequence. How have these strategic decisions altered the diplomatic and conflict landscape across the Middle East? Join us as we unravel the complexities of this geopolitical quandary. Reflecting on the observations of Mr. Scott Ritter, the stark reality on the ground paints a grim picture of conflict that has escalated beyond mere rhetoric into a visceral display of military might. Satellite imagery and first-hand reports reveal widespread destruction across conflict zones, with infrastructure severely damaged and emergency services pushed beyond their capacities. This brutal engagement not only revives images of ancient sieges but also signals a troubling escalation that might set the tone for future military engagements. As we synthesize the insights from various analysts, the consensus points toward a grim future. The entrenchment of positions and the deepening of international stakes suggest little room for de-escalation. The landscape of Middle Eastern geopolitics is being reshaped, potentially steering the region towards a period marked by increased volatility and confrontation. Thank you for joining us in this comprehensive examination of the Middle East's fraught balance of power. As we witness these unfolding events, the importance of staying informed and engaged becomes paramount. Amidst these turbulent times, the pursuit of peace remains a critical, yet challenging endeavor. Thanks for watching.